Hi, good morning. Good morning. I'm so glad you're here because I wouldn't be here if you weren't here. So I'm really, really enjoying today, and I just want to look at you and tell you I love you. I love you exactly as you are. And I know I have flaws. I'm just going to admit it. I have things that are not perfect about me. I have challenges. I get upset. I get mad. I'm just as human as everybody else. I've been lucky enough to have been taught some tools throughout my life, especially here in places like this, Centers for Spiritual Living, where I learned how to cope with human experiences. And sometimes it's unbearable what we have to go through. I have a friend whose father passed away yesterday. And I remember, Carrie, whenever your mother passed away. And we often think we're doing great and life is great, and then something happens, like the big something, right? And it's kind of knocks us off what we think we were doing, where we think we were heading, and everything kind of falls apart. And it's at those times where we need each other the most. And it's often those times when we want to go away from everything the most, right? I'm a mess. You know, whenever I get messy and I'm tired and I'm crying and I'm cranky, I think I want to go around a bunch of people and be in that? Not really. Yeah. I just want to be alone and cocoon and away from everything, which is okay too. It's all right to be in the dark night of the soul, to be in that space of challenge, of difficulty. Oftentimes we don't have compassion for ourselves as we're going through it. And sometimes we don't have compassion for others because we forget what that was like. How many people here have had a dark night of the soul? Okay, then you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. And the invitation that we have as we study compassion this month is to find those nuggets of compassion that we can find for ourselves, but we can also find for our fellow travelers. I was thinking about as I was driving the other day, and I had somebody cut me off, and I was like, you know, and yeah, I know, God. You know, and then I thought, I wonder how many people I've cut off and not known it. How many people have I just been really upset or not paying attention or distracted by something, and I do something and I don't realize that I had unintentionally done something that might have harmed another person. And so I recognize that person in me. And when I recognize that person in me, I realize that that's why we're here, is so we can see the interconnectedness of all of us. We're talking this week about Quan Yin. Quan Yin is the goddess of compassion. And she is, she hails from Buddhism. And the story of Quan Yin is that she was actually a girl. And she was a girl who was the daughter of a king. And the story comes from the precious scroll of the fragrant mountain. And this king really wanted his daughter to have all the riches of the world. But he was so invested in the riches of the world, he cared not as much about the world, but more about the riches. And so he found this amazing guy that he thought that he wanted his daughter to marry. And this guy was like royalty. You know, he got all the bling on all the fingers. He's got hanging chains. You know, he's got the crown with all the little gold diamonds and everything. Oh, yeah. Like this guy was it. And so he introduced him to his daughter. And the daughter said, "Wow, Dad, I really appreciate that you want me to be successful. You're loving that you want me to be wealthy and rich. But really, I'm willing to marry, only if it eases 3 misfortunes in the world. And then the king said, well, tell me, daughter, what are those 3 misfortunes? I'm sure all the money in the world can buy this. And she said, well, the first misfortune this marriage should ease would be the suffering of people that they endure as they age. And the second should be the suffering that people endure when they fall ill. And the third thing it should ease is the suffering caused by death. And the king said, who in the world could do that? Nobody could do that. That's an impossible wish. And she said, no, a doctor, a compassionate heart, one whose intention is to heal, can do that. And the king said, no, this is not going to work. You need all the money. And she said, no, what I need is something that can make a difference in the world. I need somebody who can assist me in helping the world. If I'm in this position of power, I want to have somebody next to me that can make a difference in the world. And the king was like, I'm not having that. You were going to marry this guy. And she says, no, I'd rather be a nun. And he's like, oh, you want to be a nun so bad? So he sent her over to the monks and he said, all right, monks, give her the hardest jobs. Give her the most difficult jobs to do. We'll see what she likes. And so they made her toil night and day. They gave her all the most difficult jobs. And she did. She was grateful for the opportunity to serve the world. And she noticed that even though she wasn't getting very much sleep, that all the animals were picking up on the fact that she was working almost 24 hours, and they started pitching in, helping her with her jobs. And when the king found out that she was getting help, he was really mad. And so he decided to burn the temple down. He was like, oh yeah, take this. I'm going to burn that thing down. And so she felt so much compassion, and she didn't want it to burn down, that she actually put the fire out with her hands. She risked herself to put it out. But the miraculous thing was that she didn't get burned. And at this point, the king was kind of scared of his daughter. He thought, maybe this girl's a little bit more powerful than me. She needs to be put to death. And so he went and had her executed. And as she was on the chopping block, she thought of the executioner. And her heart filled with compassion for the executioner, because he was just doing his job. If he didn't do his job, he'd be executed too. And so she forgave him, and she sent all the love that she could to him. And he executed her, but she went off with the heavy burden. She took it off of his shoulders. And because of this, a supernatural tiger, who is a deity of the place to the fragrant mountain, whisked her up on her way. On her way, she was actually going to Hades. She was going down to hell, because she had taken on the burdens of all the people the executioner had killed. So she was going down there, and the tiger came up and whisked her away and took her over to this mountain, this beautiful place for her to be in and enjoy. And everywhere she was, flowers popped up, everything, because her heart was filled with so much compassion and love. And then the legend has it is that the king fell ill with jaundice. And at that time, there was no help for people with jaundice. And it was really, really bad. The king was super ill, and he went to all of these doctors, and nobody could cure him. And finally, one of the monks said that the jaundice could be cured by making a medicine out of the arm and the eye of a person who's without anger. And so he heard that there was this girl on top of the fragrant mountain who had no anger in her. And so he sent a messenger to see if this person could help the king. And it was his daughter. And so she gave his eye and her arm in order to help the king. And he was so grateful. He was healed. He was miraculously healed. He went up to the mountain, and he went to his daughter, and he realized it was his daughter. His daughter who he had executed. His daughter, who wished no ill will against him, cured and saved his life. And he asked for forgiveness because he realized what a crappy person he'd been. But he realized that he was completely mistaken about life, that what his aims were not really in the most genuine place. And that if somebody could care so much about him that she would give up her life and give up her arms and eyes for him, that he must have to shift and change his ways of being. And so there was a great miraculous celebration, and Quan Yin was resurrected into the heavens. But on her way there, she heard the cries from earth of all the people who were suffering. And she felt so bad that there were so many people suffering in the world that she wanted to make a bigger impact. And now that she had transcended, she knew that she can make a huge impact in the world. So she decided to not go off into the heavens, but stay here on earth and help those who need help anytime they call out for her. And that's the story of Quan Yin. Isn't it a beautiful story? It just reminds me that sometimes we are so angry or so upset that we forget about the people that are out there to help us. And then when we are the people out there to help the world and somebody comes at us so angry and upset, we forget that we are the ones to make the difference. So whenever there's time of conflict and challenge, that we're the ones that have the opportunity to step into that space of compassion. That's the most difficult space to step into. It's so much easier to go into the realm of anger and hatred, but it's not so easy to open up to a greater sense of being. So my invitation to you is to start using compassion wherever you go. And I mean, try using it in your languaging. There's a Lara Boroditsky, Lara Boroditsky, I can say her name really. She is a scientist. And in a small Aboriginal community in Northern Australia, she wanted to observe these people and how they talk about space. Because instead of words like right, left, forward, and backward, which is what we use in English, they define the space relative to the observer. So this Aboriginal tribe, they use cardinal directions. So I have a pop quiz for you. Can you point to north right now? Point to north. Okay, right now I can tell you that north is that way. That way is north, yep. I have a compass, yay. Thank you, compass app. Yeah, so north is that way. Mm-hmm. Yes. And interestingly enough, this Aboriginal tribe, when they use their cardinal direction terms, they might say something like, there's an ant on your southeast leg, or move the cup north-northwest a little bit. And that's how they speak. And so, interestingly enough, they have to be oriented to the cardinal directions at all times in order to communicate with each other. And so because of this, their inherent languaging and the way they look at life is completely different than all of us. They decided to do a study on these people. And they wanted to say, well, what happens whenever I have like a group of pictures and we want to put them in a certain order? Let's say like a green banana, a yellow banana, a brown banana, a wilted banana, right? Or a young man, an older man, a really old man. What would happen when we ask them to put the pictures in a specific order? We want them to go from the beginning to the end, right? Well, if you ask a group of English speakers, we're going to do it left to right. We're going to start on our left and then we're going to move to the right. If you ask a group of Hebrew speakers, they're going to go the opposite way, right to left. If you ask a group of Mandarin, people who speak Mandarin, Chinese, then they're going to go let's see, is up to down, yeah, top to bottom. They're going to go top to bottom. But if you ask this group of Aboriginals, they would do things, and sometimes they would do them right to left to right, top to bottom, bottom to top. And they finally figured out there was actually an order. So all of the people they had asked them in different places at different times, different periods, and they found out that what they were doing is they were arranging them from east to west. So depending on where they were sitting, they would arrange them from east to west. So in some cases it was right to left, in other cases it was left to right, in other cases it was top to bottom, in the other cases bottom to top, depending on where they were sitting. And they never told these people where the directions were or anything. As a matter of fact, they tested a young girl and they put her in a building and they asked her the same thing that they asked all of us. Can you point to north? And immediately she pointed to north. They put her in another building. Can you point to north? Immediately she pointed to north. Now, isn't it interesting that the languaging, the way they spoke to each other, created a new sense of how they had reality in their life? So oftentimes the words we speak generate our view of the world. And so what kind of words can you speak in order to create a view of the world that's different? A reality that might be a different perception. I'm going to show you a picture. I don't know if you guys have been on social media recently. But here's a picture. I'm going to just go up the aisles. I'm going to come down the other side, okay? Dress, everybody. All right. Who sees a white and gold dress as opposed to a blue and black dress? Okay, white and gold, blue and black. I'm serious. I see blue and black. Gina sees white and gold. This is a photo that's on the internet. They had it on the news the other night. Yeah. And what it is our brain has an idea of what different reflections are and the time of day. So during the time of day when the sun changes its light, the colors are different, right? So our brain interprets the reflection of the light on the colors as certain wavelengths. And so we actually have an interpretation in our mind of what these colors are based on how our brain is picking up the light. We actually know people who the dress changes colors for, depending on where they're at. I see it as black and blue. So, yes, so all of us are perceiving these completely different. It's the same thing, and everybody is perceiving it completely different. Now, don't you think that our beliefs and our thoughts are creating something for our life? And maybe even changing the way how we see things. We might literally be seeing things differently, the same exact thing, completely differently than somebody else. And so how can you create a base, a foundation of seeing from a world of compassion? How can you create a world where all you see is from those eyes? Where maybe what you're seeing when you're seeing drama and you're seeing challenge and you're seeing difficulty, maybe you're seeing people who are alcoholics or drug addicts or homeless. What if you saw the world through compassion? What if you saw the world as an opportunity for you to step into the role of love? To be the Quan Yin in the world? To be the person who is the one who sees through all of those challenges and sees to the golden center of that person. The person who is made up of Holy Spirit. The person who's made up of God essence. This is how we're created. We're created of an idea of the Most High. And each and every one of us was an inception in the mind of the divine. We're birthed out of that same mind and we're still in it. We're not separate from it. But we have an individual view that's different. But we need to see that view as the one and the interconnected one. As a person who's suffering on the street is me suffering on the street. As a person who is having a bad day, that's me having a bad day. How would I want people to treat me? If I'm the one who cut people off, how would I like them to treat me in case I did that? How would I like them to treat me? Would I want somebody to go road ragey on me, or would I want somebody to have forgiveness and bless me? Yeah. So practice this week, blessing each and every person that you meet. Practice this week of seeing through that veil of illusion and seeing that maybe this challenge and maybe this difficulty is really an opportunity for you to stand in the presence of compassion. Maybe all of this was conspiring so the world could have you be compassion. Gandhi said, "We are the ones we've been waiting for." We are the ones we've been waiting for. And so you have the opportunity to step in your everyday world, to step into your jobs, into your homes, into the supermarket, to be the compassion, to be the open heart, and to see through those eyes that maybe what you're seeing isn't really what's happening. Maybe there's something a little bit deeper, a little bit more profound, a little bit more sacred, a little bit more holy going on, in a way that you can step into it, that you can take on the love of the world. Because it's little actions like that that's going to change this place. Little actions like that is what's going to make a profound difference in the world. And I know that we can do it. Are you in? Yes. I'm in too. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this with you. So, as a reminder, use compassion in your language. Practice forgiveness. Change how you speak about things and it will change your life. Stand for things and not against things. And be in the present moment. I love you. Let's pray. Sometimes I forget that the wind was created for me. Sometimes I forget that when I walk on the grass and my feet, that the earth is supporting me. Sometimes I forget who I really am. Sometimes I forget how cherished and nurtured I am. And I hurt and I'm sad. And so I know at these times that the infinite one, the great spirit that created all, wakes me up. Wakes me up to see and know that while suffering exists, that I can be that love. I can be a stand for love in this world in a way that I've never been before. And so I choose to see the butterfly flying by as a gift from the divine, showing me that beauty exists. When I walk on the grass and I feel supported, I realize an entire planet was created for me to love, to stand, to appreciate, to enjoy. And so I tap into that sense of freedom, of forgiveness of myself and others, knowing that the past is a burden and I don't want it anymore. I choose to step into a new sense of being, a new sense of awakening, so that I can expand the truth of who I am. And I know that is love. I know it's love and light and power. And as I know this for me, I know this for each and every person here, that there is nothing that we cannot do, that we are built here to create and feel the vibrancy and the aliveness of this thing called life. the vitality. And sometimes that vitality and aliveness is by reaching out my hand and pulling somebody up who forgets who they are. And so I choose to remember that today, and I choose to awaken to it. And when I forget, I know and claim that God, Spirit, the universe, is tapping into me to awaken that spark, that light inside of me. So I claim this now for each and every person here, knowing that this is done, knowing that as we walk out today, we are transformed. We are something different. I am something different than who I was when I stepped into this room. I accept this. I claim this for each and every one of us, and I know and claim that I step into a greater awareness of the possibility of life. And so I release this word into the universe like a bird, watching it fly in freedom and joy, watching God create before me, illuminating the path before me so I may know that I am doing the right thing for me, that each and every person has that guidance. So we know that we're part of something greater, a sacred and holy part. I accept that, I embody it, I claim it. I am so grateful for it. I am so grateful. And if you agree with me, join with me in saying, and so it is.